Hello and welcome to a very special panel on entrepreneurship in Central America. My name is Armando Vera Carvajal and I'm the Accelerator Director here at NewChip. We are so excited that you are tuning into this talk along with hundreds of other investors and entrepreneurs from around the world. Joining us today in this conversation are three entrepreneurs who are currently building their startups, their businesses in Central America, and they're also members of the NewChip Accelerator. We're very thrilled to have their perspectives and experiences in this conversation about such a timely region, geography that is growing and has a lot of impact for the entrepreneurial ecosystem of the world. First, I'd love to introduce Cecilia Toscana. She's the founder and the CEO of Exaboard, a company building governance and board software that increases commitment, engagement, and communication, thus multiplying the positive strategic impact of corporate boards. Cecilia is joining us today from Guatemala. We then have Nicholas Ibanez. He is the founder and the CEO of EasyMD or EasyMed, a centralized digital health solutions platform that connects users in Central America to telemedicine health services from the comfort of their homes or workplaces. And in today's COVID-19 era, that's a very, very important solution. Nicolas is joining us today from Nicaragua. And last, but certainly not least, we're thrilled to have Manfred Tijerino. He's the founder and the CEO of Radix Haven, a secure cloud-based and simplified data science platform that basically allows its users to easily integrate multiple payment gateways. Manfred is also joining us today from Nicaragua. Cecilia, Nicolas, Manfred, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you're very busy entrepreneurs, so much going on in your lives. So it's a pleasure to have you here discussing a very important topic about a highly relevant region. Before we jump right in, I'd like to just share some very quick context about entrepreneurship in Central America, which encompasses the countries of Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Panama, Costa Rica, and Belize. Most of us in the world of startups, investments, finance, we understand that entrepreneurship is well on the rise across Latin America. That's just a fact, both in Mexico and across South America. But Central America is no exception to this trend. Central America is very, very important to the rise of startup development in Latin America. Historically, Central America has been a region with a vibrant economy, a lot of opportunities across traditional industries and sectors, such as agriculture, manufacturing, and trade. The Panama Canal alone, right, serves as a very powerful place of extraordinary value and importance to the entire world. Then again, this canal connects, the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. It allows for the flow of trade between the entire world. And Central America is at the center of all of that. However, in recent years, this region has been able to increase its competitiveness, and it has taken steps to foster the kind of innovation that is needed to accelerate economic growth and social good. Some recent demographic studies have demonstrated that the youthful population across Central America represents an enormous, really, really big opportunity for high impact innovation and economic development through new job creation. Nonetheless, there are many ongoing challenges and obstacles that are currently present in the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Central America, especially in respect to high-tech startups, all the way from education to funding to talent pools to bureaucracy to even geopolitical insecurity. There are many factors that must be met and contended with in order to foster a much more equitable and dynamic startup ecosystem across Central America. So I'd love to start off this conversation by hearing your stories, your perspectives as entrepreneurs. I'd love to learn about the businesses that you are building and also understand, why you have decided to create this opportunity in Central America. Cecilia, let's go with you first.
Sure. And thank you so much for having me. So like Armando mentioned, I'm the CEO of Exaboard, and Exaboard is essentially a software solution designed specifically for boards of directors and all of its operating committees. And so essentially we provide a tool that is secure and that allows boards to really organize themselves, send out documents ahead of time. Directors can prepare for meetings. And then we have a solution that allows for boards to meet remotely, which is especially useful now with COVID. And so we synchronize screens. We're able to host votes no matter where directors are, make decisions, and then keep a record of everything, which is very important in terms of accountability and compliance, in particular with some of our clients, such as banking clients. We have both a web solution and an app solution, and have been focused primarily in Guatemala and are going to focus on expanding first throughout Latin America, because we see a real opportunity here. It's an underserved market in terms of that particular need, and we see tremendous opportunity. Just a bit of a backstory on my end. I was very fortunate and privileged enough to go to California for both my undergrad and my master's degree. So I first went to Stanford. I came back to Guatemala and I worked for a while in retail and in corporate social responsibility. So not really in entrepreneurship. Dabbled a bit in social entrepreneurship. And then I went back to California again, this time at Berkeley, and I got my master's degree. I finished in 2017. And so, I could have stayed in the US, and I was in Silicon Valley. So it's kind of strange to folks. Why would you go back home if you wanted to be an entrepreneur? And I think it comes down to, frankly, a couple of reasons. One, personally, I wanted to create my family or raise a family here. It's home. And so that has value that's kind of hard to quantify, but that was very important to me. And then I will say, like I mentioned, I was very privileged to grow up with a lot of opportunities. And so I knew that coming back, I would still have access to a lot of opportunities and important networks, because I grew up in privilege, to be honest. I am not one of the Guatemalans that has to go to the US to find better opportunities. I knew that I could, if I worked hard, really cultivate those opportunities here. And obviously that's not something that everyone can choose or has the opportunity to do. And then I was just very excited about the ecosystem. I was talking to my co-founders before I even graduated, and they were telling me a little bit more about everything that was going on here. We have kind of a little mini Silicon Valley in a particular area of the city, a lot of startups, a lot of even areas just focused on entrepreneurship. And I really thought about how impactful it would be to create something here, to really invest in the talent here, and to create job opportunities here. And again, going back to that privilege, it makes sense for me to kind of give a bit back and invest back into my country that has given me so much. So yeah, it was a bunch of things that really led us to start our company. And we are 100% Guatemalan based. All of our developers are Guatemalan and have all gotten their degrees from a Guatemalan university, actually. So very excited about that.
That's incredible. And I think it's a true testament, right, to that commitment. When you're at that crossroads of your career and potential opportunities, being, like you said, literally being in Silicon Valley, having a world of opportunities over there and beyond, you decided to come back home. And I think that's so important, right? Like you said, there are many factors that are unquantifiable, like family, like roots, tradition that is back there that allows you to be a leader at a very different level than you would be in a very established ecosystem. So thank you for sharing that, Cecilia. Nicolas, I'd love to get your perspective as well as your story as an entrepreneur, your business, and why you decided to create this opportunity in Central America.
Yeah, sure. First of all, as well, I thank you for having me here. Hi to everybody from around the world. And yeah, kind of like a similar story as Cecilia. I did first, Nicolas, by the way, I'm the CEO of EasyMD. What we do at EasyMD is we're trying to centralize one option healthcare solutions to everybody who's middle class and low class, and try to fill in that gap over the 76% of the population in Central America, which falls into that category, that does not have quality access to care. They have to be accustomed to the social healthcare, which in every country in Central America, is very, very difficult to get a consultation with a specialized doctor. It's very difficult to do follow-ups. So what we're trying to do through technology is to connect that demand of people who want to have private healthcare, who were not born privileged or have worked very hard to get to a state where they can earn their own stuff and be able to at an accessible price, be able to have everything in the palm of your hand. That's what we're trying to do with EasyMed. I have done other businesses before. I'm a physical therapist. I studied physical therapy for 5 years. I went to Birmingham, Alabama, and was working with a hospital in Birmingham, and that's where I fell in love with telehealth. It was 4 years back. Then I did a master's degree in Spain. It's called Osteopath of Madrid. I don't know how to say that in English, but it's master's in osteopathy, which is a very deep knowledge about how the body works. And after that, we saw the huge opportunity that healthcare really needed here, and I was frustrated with how things work here. Nobody sends patients to anybody. Everybody's like very private about their patients. So it's very difficult to be able to have a complete care for a human being here, because either you're stuck with the social healthcare, which is the only option you have, or either you pay thousands of dollars to be able to have a private healthcare plan. So there's a huge gap and a huge opportunity there that we're filling in right now. So I'm very excited about that. And just like Cecilia says, we are home-based everything. And the idea, as she said it, and it's funny to me, being in Silicon Valley, for her to see the opportunity and say, okay, this is crowded. I mean, there is opportunity, there's job opportunities, but how can I be disruptive in a place where you have 10 options of different, I don't know, different services, you know? And you have millions of people in Central America and Latin America that know about it because of social media, know about these services, but they don't have options. So the demand is there. And nobody has, like, very few people have had the idea that Cecilia has. You know what? Why don't do this here and bring money here and also bring technology here, which is very, very needed. So I love what you did, Cecilia, and it's impressive. So thank you for sharing that. And I chose Nicaragua because this is where I'm from. I did live in the States. I like the States. I was actually born in the States, but there's just something about us Latins that we want to come back home and be able to bring opportunities that we lived, that we had, to other people here. And also know, because when you travel, you see different things that a lot of people don't see because they don't have the chance to travel. And then you see and you see how things work, and then you say, hey, why don't we bring this over here and just personalize it and do something different here and be able to be very easily market leaders in an area that the demand is there, you know? So that is mainly what we're trying to do at EasyMed, and kind of a little bit about my background. Well, I told you guys what I study, what's my core. I've built the first medical clinic specialized on sports medicine here, and we work on that. And now I'm able to bring all my time to this startup, which is difficult for me to be able to leave that over there and leave it functioning and stuff. So that is always done. And then as an athlete, I'm very accustomed to this. So sometimes all these difficulties that happen in Central America because of the regulations, as you all know, it's harder to do. So I mean, it's been fun, and yeah, it's a little bit about what I am and what I'm doing.
Thank you for that, Nicolas. That was super helpful. And it's interesting what you mentioned about, you know, having been in the US, having had a lot of that perspective, and then looking back to your homeland, right? I can relate to that 102%. I'm originally from Mexico City, and having been here in the American startup ecosystem and the financial world, I look back to Mexico as a place to go back and make a very big impact, right? You can stay here in a very crowded market with lots of resources, lots of talent, lots of innovation, but I ultimately think the frontier for developing and driving innovation is back in our homeland. So I very much relate to that. Manfred, I'd love to hear your story as well as an entrepreneur, your business, and the opportunity that you're creating in Central America.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, as you mentioned before, I'm currently serving the CEO in Radix Haven, which is a data science platform for payment gateways. So any company doing online businesses around the world can connect their payment gateway in our system. We can provide real-time data analysis. So as my peers mentioned before, I was privileged enough as well to go to the United States, study there, especially in San Francisco. I was there for over 2 years as well, working as a data scientist, which is my field. And since I got to the United States, I was exposed to the whole startup culture, which was enormous back then, which is still. So, but I always wanted to build my own company, and every time that I was coming back to to Nicaragua, to visit my family, I saw the huge opportunity here in Nicaragua. A lot of talented people working in really complex projects. So when I basically raised capital in the United States back in 2019, one of my strong statement was like, I would love to build my company from my country because we do have talent, and this is going to be basically another statement to provide jobs, quality jobs, people that probably right now, for instance, I could probably say that the people that are working in my company are basically making twice as much as of what the market offer here in Nicaragua. And because I'm also bringing the culture from the United States, that we're paying you for your talent, for your hard work. So the biggest reason why I'm building the company here in Nicaragua is because of that. I'm from Nicaragua. I just want to say like, hey, my company, it was created and built from my country. And even though we do have people working in the United States, especially in San Francisco, it's a Nicaraguan company. It was founded by 2 Nicaraguans, and like 80% of the people working on a day-to-day basis in Radix Haven are Nicaraguans. So we can probably say, yeah, it's a software built in Central America, in Nicaragua. So that was basically the biggest reason why I decided to come back to to Nicaragua and build the company here in Nicaragua. So yeah, in my case right now, I have seen a lot of potential in Nicaragua. A lot of startup. For instance, Nicolas is also a Nicaraguan, and he's building a great software. And as Nicolas, there's a lot of Nicaraguan building great stuff. So it's really, I'm really happy to see that like young entrepreneurs here in Nicaragua are trying to to conquer the US market with software, or building not probably software, probably like like some type of fashion brands or food or etc. So they're trying to do something special to conquer the world as well. So I'm really happy to say that I'm a Nicaraguan entrepreneur. I'm really happy to say that from Nicaragua, and also from this part of the region in Central America, and just trying to make it happen from here.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Manfred. It's so nice to hear that perspective as well, and your commitment, to building a company that really benefits the people in Nicaragua, like you're saying, paying up basically twice as much as the market rate in your country. I think that's a very big deal, right? Oftentimes the mindset of many entrepreneurs abroad is, well, we will hire certain individuals in certain countries because we can pay them less, or half of what we would pay someone in America. But I love the leadership and the vision that you have to say, we're all equal here and we're going to operate as if we were a global company based in Nicaragua. And I love that too, that the mindset's not just creating solutions in software for the region, but also creating solutions at the world at large, that the United States, Europe, Canada will be using at some point soon. So I love that. Kind of going on a similar vein of that, I'd love to hear your perspectives from all three on the current state of entrepreneurship in Central America. What is the startup ecosystem really like in your country? And in your opinion, how has it evolved over the past, say, 5 to 10 years? Cecilia, let's go with you.
Sure. I think that there is something, I don't know if it's unique to our region, but a lot of people are entrepreneurs because of just the situation they find themselves in. So oftentimes here in Guatemala, for example, a huge chunk of our economy is the informal sector, because unfortunately there's just not enough job opportunities in the formal sector. And so, there are a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, and not like tech entrepreneurs. I'm talking about, people selling hot dogs, people selling anything really. And so I think that there is something very cultural here, where folks are willing to take risks, and they are willing to work hard to make a living and to do better for themselves. So I think culturally that's there, and that's always been there. I think that something that has definitely changed in the last couple of years is the focus on technology has risen. And so with that, more young folks going into study computer science and those sorts of careers, and then a lot more companies kind of coming out within that sector in particular. But like Manfred said, like there's a lot of entrepreneurship even around food and food products, things like that. I'd say that here we have some initiatives, some public initiatives, some private initiatives, mostly around capacity building and mentorship, small maybe incubators or accelerators, but really focused on kind of giving entrepreneurs advice and tools, not so much money and funding. And so I think access to capital still continues to be something that's hard. I'd say it's becoming a bit better here in Guatemala. I can speak to Guatemala, obviously. But it's mostly either high net worth individuals, private investors that are more willing to kind of take risks and invest in startups or riskier ventures, and mostly because they maybe have had experience investing abroad in US companies, for example, but still not kind of very formalized groups of investors or very formal kind of VCs or even angels are hard to find. I'd say it's mostly you need to know these folks in order to get access to them and get access to their money. Or we do have some bigger multinationals, so kind of multi-inversiones. They own Pollo Campero, so like the biggest fast food chain. And for example, they have a branch around kind of startups and investing. And so does the big bottling company, the one that bottles Pepsi and everything. But they are very focused on investing in things that will help their company. And so, for example, I have a friend actually who started a hummus company with a buy one, give one type model. And he actually received funding from this big bottling and food company. Essentially, it's the equivalent of getting money from like Frito-Lay, right? Because I mean, it makes sense for them. But I, as Exaboard, would never be able to get money from them. And so very sort of specialized funds starting to come up, again, from either high net worth families or huge companies, but nothing very kind of formal like you would see in Silicon Valley, or kind of networks of VCs or angels or that sort of thing. But more and more you do see these events or forums around entrepreneurship, and at least equipping entrepreneurs with kind of the knowledge and the skills and the networks to get started.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think just because of the structural, setup in Guatemala and other neighboring countries, that, you do see that sort of divide, right? And also the traditional wealth gaps, right? The familias that run the industries where the money is centered, and that oftentimes impacts it. But I love what you mentioned earlier about the cultural backbone, right? Mm-hmm. Trabajadores, emprendedores, like Central America, you see really hardworking people who, nothing's stopping them from going out on the street and selling bubblegum, right? Mm-hmm. They have, we all have that in our blood, right? Everyone here, we have that desire to drive, to build, right? And I think that's a very valuable trait, not just in Central America, but across Latin America. I think it's what holds so much potential for this entire region. Nicolas, what are your thoughts on the startup ecosystem in Nicaragua, and how do you think it's evolved in the past 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think it's coming a a long way. As in the rest of the world, startup has gained a lot of, I don't know, kind of traction, I would say. A lot of people, thanks to social media, we're able to see stuff that we did not see before. And then we try to, kind of like that American dream, you know? Everybody here wants to go to the States and just be successful over there. But it's a dream that everybody's trying to accomplish. And as Cecilia mentioned, it's a cultural thing, because they have it embedded in their minds that if they don't get out of, in this case, Nicaragua, they're going to die poor, or they're going to die unsuccessful. But that mindset creates a hunger that you don't see. You see, but it's kind of like, it's something that it's cultural. Like you said, it's a different kind of hunger that you sell hot dogs. Maybe you don't even like hot dogs. You don't even eat them, but you sell them because you have to get back home and bring something for your family and stuff. So it creates a different mindset that I think it's a cultural talent that we as Latins have, to be able to succeed and be able to be seen and be able to provide, because we're very maternal kind of cultural where women are very family orientated, and it's something that's been changing, which I love, because now you see a lot of female entrepreneurs and a lot of female. My wife has we're building a food chain of organic, healthy stores, and now it's a franchise, and then she's a machine. I mean, I could never do what she does and stuff like that. And so it has is like entrepreneur, the word is embedded in the culture, I think, you know, because as she said, the informal, we have a market here that's called Mercado Oriental, and it's like a 10 miles square of just 2x2s of different businesses, importations, and then you have people that 10 years ago didn't have anything, and now they're the representatives of a soap, and then they make millions a year, and then that. I love that place, and there's 80,000 people walking around there every day, and it's all informal because of one of the limitations, which is the political side of it. It's the necessity and the hunger that has to build that, you know, to be able to build, to be able to bring something back, to be able to create jobs and stuff. So I think it's gone a long way. The economic constraints that we have. It's very similar as Guatemala. I think even Guatemala is a little bit more modern in that kind of way. But at the same, we have just a group of small, high-class, wealthy people who are the ones that control kind of like it's like in everywhere, which is they control and they have a lot of more power and stuff. So raising capital here is very difficult. It's very difficult, even though you know the people who are, in my case, I know a lot of the wealthy families here, but they don't invest unless it's their family and unless it's something that they would use. So it's a very, and they want to keep it that way, you know, get that 10% up there and just keep diminishing, keep creating that distance from middle to low class, that gap even bigger, which is never good for the country in the long run. You know, you want to get that middle class up and get that access to those people. That and the raising capital area, but yeah, kind of like the same things, and about tools and stuff that as entrepreneurs has been very difficult. And thank God I found you guys, because if not, it is very frustrating for an entrepreneur to be able to learn startup, learn how to raise capital, know what crowdfunding is, know what Reg C means, all that stuff. If it weren't for NewChip, or if it weren't for YouTube and combining those two and trying to learn by myself, it is very difficult to learn about it. So incubators, as Cecilia said, are something that we don't have as much here, and Guatemala is doing an amazing job creating that little kind of city of, we call it the Central American Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley con frijoles.
Imagina. Entonces, I've been trying it. If it weren't for COVID, I would have already visited. But it's just a different ball game. It's a lot of opportunity, but you have to be very hungry as an entrepreneur to be able to succeed as a startup, because of not succeed, but to be able to continue as a person, because there's your family saying, "Oh, what are you doing? You should be focusing on your clinic, or you should be focusing on what keeps month to month." And they don't see the bigger picture because of the culture. That's what you go to work, come back at 5, be with the family, have family dinner, and then do the same thing over and over again. And it's something that I could never do. So that are the tools that I think we are very limited here because of how we are. We're.
Manfred, what is your take on the startup ecosystem? And I know you're also in Nicaragua, but what are your thoughts?
I will definitely say that, I have been in every single country in Central America, and it is the same trend. We are crawling when it comes to, the whole startup culture, especially coming from the United States. And probably the reason why is because it's also a cultural trend. Like, we all will catch all the trends, like really, really behind for the United States or Europe. So, for instance, United States, the whole startup culture has been growing a lot since the beginning of time. I will definitely say all those great companies coming, out of Silicon Valley since the 60s, and now we're trying to basically build our own Silicon Valley in every single country, in Central America. So, but the point is that I'm optimistic enough that the startup scene in Central America will be way better probably 5 years from now. Why? Because there is a lot of things that that needs to happen in order to get to that level. We do have the talent. There's no question that we do have the people to build whatever we want to build, right? We do have the talent, but we don't have access to tools. We don't have access to money in order to build those products, right? So I can see really talented people stop working on great projects and trying to get another job because they don't have access to build that product, right? Because obviously we all have to pay bills on a month-to-month basis, right? So they stop doing that project I could definitely think, if this guy is probably living in the United States and have access to capital, he will be building that project, taking it to the next level, and they will be basically creating thousands of jobs in Nicaragua. But why? They don't have access to that money, and they have to stop, and they have to focus on other stuff in order to to make it happen every single month. So I have been working in the state and also here in Nicaragua. I can definitely say that we're crawling when it comes to that, and I think it's a mission for every single entrepreneur that in Central America that. For instance, in my case, if I'm successful with Radix Haven, I will definitely support, entrepreneurs here in my country. I think it's a mission. It's definitely it's like giving back to the community. Yes, I'm one of the one making it happen. Now I'm just gonna support you, in the same way I was support before, right? I think we are responsible. Central Americans, especially Nicaraguan or Guatemalans, are responsible to make it happen for others, fellow citizens. And that's my thought when it comes to a startup culture here in Central America, and also especially in Nicaragua.
Yeah, no, and I love the vision that you have for that. I'd love to take it a step further, and you mentioned some of the challenges. Each one of you has addressed or alluded to some of the challenges that currently exist in the ecosystem for entrepreneurs in Central America. In your experience, what have been some of the specific obstacles or challenges that you have faced as an entrepreneur? And it can be a structural one, it can be regulation related, it can be skill related. Tell us more about that, Cecilia.
I'd say one big one is definitely just access to talent. I think that every country in Central America except Costa Rica probably has an education problem, a very, very, very big education problem. And so if we don't fix that structurally, if the education system doesn't improve, then we will always have like a talent gap. And so we are, looking at a smaller pool of potential talent. And obviously we are competing with bigger companies, be it startups that maybe have raised more money, or for example, in particular with like coders, like the big telcos. Like, it's boring jobs, to be honest, but they can pay more, right? At the start. And so you need to be very creative and be very intentional about the culture you're creating, and kind of be able to sell everyone into your vision. Also, you can be very creative with equity, other ways of paying them. But I think that like finding talent is always a huge challenge, and then retaining that talent. One thing that has worked wonders for us is that one of our partners, one of our tech partners, he's also a teacher at one of the local universities. And so he's kind of like our headhunter. He like poaches all of his best students, he like sends over to us. And so we're able to kind of start working with them when they're still in school, and really kind of help them grow and learn. And that's something very valuable to them. But access to that, and then access to very specialized, more high-level talent is hard. And so I'd say that's a big one. I'd say like structurally as well, just in general, the incentives often are not aligned. And what I mean by that is like kind of just starting a company like a Sociedad Anónima, like the cost of that is not cheap, especially not compared to other countries. And so again, another reason why the informal sector is so huge. It's like, it's not cheap to kind of become formal. And it's not intuitive. And there's like a lot of things you need to do, and you need to hire lawyers and do all of these other things. And so I think that if there were better incentives around kind of formalizing your company, be it the hot dog stand or be it like a software company, then it would make it easier. And, and again, often these countries have a lot of issues in terms of corruption and stuff. And so folks are like, why would I, become formal and pay taxes if like they're going to steal everything? You can have a lot of those conversations as well. So I think just in general, there needs to be a lot kind of structurally done to fix, the government in general, and just regulation, make things that be easier for folks that do want to be formal and do want to create their companies. And so, yeah, I'd say kind of those structural things. Talent is a big one. And then we touched on just kind of access to funding is difficult if you don't know the right people and you don't have kind of the right product that they might be interested in, or you might not find the folks with the right risk appetite in terms of fundraising. But yeah, those I think are some of the challenges there as well.
Yes, and I think that the talent piece is super important. Makes me think of brain drain, right? Mm-hmm. Lots of really good talent leaving the region for good, right? And not coming back, building their companies elsewhere. Nicolas, what are your thoughts on some of the specific obstacles or challenges that you faced as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's an informality, like she said, it takes a long time to do stuff. As a startup, you need to build fast, get some information and be reactive. And it's very, very hard to do that without capital and without the regulations on your side. So for example, we're trying to close the gap for people who do not have internet access. We're creating a 1-800 phone line for the people who don't have access to an app, to download an app, so they can also have their doctors 24/7. We're trying to work with nonprofits to be able to take help to kids without them even spending a dime, and it's a low cost of about $2, which is nothing, and they will get access to psychological health and mental health. And Doctor 24/7, which I really believe it can diminish the mortality rate a lot year by year. But just to get that 1-800, it's been 4 months, and I actually lost the deal because I didn't have the 1-800. And it's something that's so easy to do in other places that you do it in a week in the States. It's been 4 months, and I even have a friend that works there and stuff that he's kind of like mixed with the government, and even with him inside has been difficult. So this is the country. This is at least Nicaragua. It's all about who you know. It's all about who you know, and gladly I know the people. I'm not political at all, and I never talk about politics. But as an entrepreneur, you need to know about the politics to be able to know how to speak to people. But it's back to the structure, as Cecilia says. It's just political incentives for people to do their own business the formal way. It's not incentive at all. So that's why you have 80,000 people running around in the Mercado Oriental daily, and there's money running around there. There's a lot of money there, and taxation is very high. Then you have the social security, the social healthcare it's around. It's a lot of the people struggle to pay it, and it's social. When you work for a company, the company has to pay the social healthcare, and then you as a worker have to pay your part as well. And then you go there, and then you have to wait 3 months to see a specialized I don't know how to say this in English, diabetic specialist. And then your foot's off. And then you have no foot. Then you can't walk. And it's like, why wait 3 months when you can just So incentives, capital raising, and also the geopolitical insecurities also is difficult because we're very small countries. So for us to expand, we have to go and do the same. Creating a Sociedad Anónima in Guatemala. Then if you want to expand to Costa Rica, you have to create and register everything in Costa Rica. And then you have to go to Panama and register in Panama. And it becomes a little bit more expensive and time consuming. So being able to really structure that prior to even thinking about expanding has been something that I think, done pretty well. But at the same time, it's just, when you're bootstrapping, it's just a lot of money, and it's a lot of time, and yeah, I think those are the challenges to building the talent, the startup and the company, and talent. Talent is I've worked with already around 3 or 4 different digital marketing agencies here, and it's just that they don't understand it. So you don't have to have presence in social media. You need to create content, and then what you invest has to come back through that investment of the digital marketing. But I think they don't have the tools to learn how to properly do it. So then that's why we have to go up and look for talent outside. But yeah, I think those are the
yeah. No, I mean, some of the similar challenges, and as you say, I mean, everything that you described is basically an entirely different world and universe, right? For an entrepreneur in Central America, but then think of the informal economy, right? How do you tell somebody who wants to turn their hot dog stand business into a franchise model that they have to do all that? It's like, forget about it. I'm not going to do it. So the challenges are there. They're very, very real. Manfred, what are your perspectives, and what's your take on the challenges and obstacles that you faced thus far?
Well, I will definitely say that the first challenge, I haven't faced that challenge, which is you have seen this trend in this interview. Like we all have been in the United States, and we all have access, to meet the right people, access to capital in order to build our company. So the average people in Central America, they don't have those opportunities, to start building their company or product, whatever they're working on. So that's one of the biggest challenges, because the country doesn't give you the tools, to be entrepreneur. The country doesn't give you the resources for you to try in nowadays competitive world. So it's basically force you to do what you have to do in the country, which is basically try to get a job, the best one that you can, try to, achieve limited goals in your personal life and try, to accommodate into that life. So if you don't have, access to privilege resources like going out of your country or having access to the right people, it's really hard for someone like that, like making it happen, right? So that's one of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs in Central America might face. And in my case, when it comes to entrepreneur here in Nicaragua, of course, there's a lot of corruption in all Central America, and especially Nicaragua is a really corrupted country. Our government is not doing. I don't want to go political in this way, but it's the truth. I will definitely say that we do have hands down one of the worst government history in Nicaragua, and we do have this type of government. It's really hard, to try because. And even if you have interested people and invest in your company, they will tell you, hey, but you're looking at Nicaragua, please move to the United States, because I have seen that common with potential investors. Because they know, it's not their fault, it's the truth, right? You're basically basing your company in a country that is not political stable. And everything could happen between the United States and Nicaragua when it comes, probably the United States might block Nicaragua, vice versa. So it's really unstable. So, and even if I have the statement of building my company from Nicaragua, when that type of scenario happens, you need to think twice, right? It's not my fault. It's not a Nicaraguan fault. It's just basically, it's basically how we're building our country. There's a lot of people here in Nicaragua that they want to do the things the right way. But of course, I could definitely say that we all deserve this type of government because we all put that people, in the way they are right now, but it's not essentially like that. So I'm a firm believer that somehow, some way, for instance, in Nicaragua, we're gonna get out from this stage, and we're gonna start, building a better country. And that's the whole thing when it comes to education. If you have a really well educated people, you will build a better country. So that's basically one of the biggest challenges you can face in Central America is corruption. And when it comes to talent, I haven't faced that problem, to be quite honest. Every time that I need someone to work in Radix Haven, it's really easy for me to find that person. And of course, in my case, I had to compete with bigger company that probably can, match my job offer. But in my case, basically, I just trying to sell them the whole idea, the whole vision of the company. They're basically working on something really new, on something from the get-go. It's not like product that is going to be given to them, just to add a couple of lines of code on a day-to-day basis, which is already built. This is something really new challenges, et cetera. So I haven't faced any type of talented problem here in Nicaragua. And but yeah, definitely that's my take on that question.
Yeah, no, I think it's so true, and I appreciate you sharing that. I think it goes without saying that corruption is oftentimes the common denominator at every level of the challenges, right, that we see not just in Central America, but Latin America, Mexico, even the US, right, as we're seeing nowadays. So I think those are some very important things that have to be addressed. As we come to a close for this talk, I'd love to hear your words of advice that you have for people currently in Central America who may be an entrepreneur or might even be considering launching their own business in the future. And this message is also for potential leaders in Central America, in government, in private industry, as investors who may be listening to this talk. What words of advice do you have for those people? Cecilia, let's go with you.
I'd say, especially with what Manfred talked about, I think that something that came to my mind is the fact that, yes, we are a region that has its challenges and its problems, but to me, it also means that we have a lot of opportunity. We can only go up from where we're at. And so I think that we have a very young population. We have a population that's hungry. And so I think that if we invest in our countries, we will see the positive ROI, like guaranteed. to entrepreneurs, I'd say be patient, be perseverant, and look for mentors, and expand your network locally, because obviously that's something very important in our region. If you are going to start your company in your country, you need a strong network there. There's just no way around it. And so spend time building those relationships, even though you think it might be pointless, or you need to be, writing code or doing whatever. Spend time doing that. It's definitely worth it. And then obviously look beyond. Look to places like NewChip. Look to online universities, anything that you can to find those resources and fill in the gaps that your country currently does not provide. And ánimo, perseverancia, paciencia, y crean en sus sueños.
Thank you. That's so powerful and so true. And I think that last part, crean en sus sueños, believe in your dreams, right? It's incredibly important, especially in a region that has more needs than haves. Nicolas.
Come on, man. We have great talent here. This is for us. This is going to make the country as a whole better, and then to make a difference here rather than somewhere else, we live here anyway, so why don't make our lives better? So that to leaders, to entrepreneurs, and leaders are always kind of like, we have this thing that we have to criticize everything as, I'm not saying I'm a leader, but as the people in a whole, we tend to, as humans, tend to criticize and have a different, like a focus that I think should change definitely. I mean, this is the reality. This is what we have. Let's try to find some opportunity there. And when there are critics, or where there is problems, there's always solutions, and that means there's opportunity for us to bring something to the table that's going to be positive for us as a nation, and also for us as entrepreneurs, and to leave a positive footprint on our country. And at the end of the day, I mean, that is what we should do. Network is the most important thing. You have to know the people, and if you don't know them, you have to know someone who does, and have the charm to be able to get on their good side, because it's the only way you're gonna be able to get big deals, be able to present your product to people, be able to convince people, or be able just to open their eyes and see that this is something that they need. And just keep on going. Sometimes the people who limit you are people who love you because they're scared of you getting hurt or failing. But it's much better to fail in something that you love doing than failing in something that you don't even like. So if you're gonna fail, you fail, but you fail doing what you love, and then you're not gonna fail, because that's only gonna teach you something to be able to keep going forward.
The learning part, super important. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Nicolas. Do you have maybe a few words in Spanish that you might want to share for audience that may not fully understand English?
Yeah. Ahí a todos los que estén escuchando en español, denle con todo, mi hermano. Si esto es para nosotros, tenemos que crear algo para nuestra familia. Si tienen familia, solo piensen en lo que tu hija, bueno, en mi caso, mi hija va a pensar de mí. Entonces solo sigan adelante, fuerza, ánimo, y vas a ver que después de la persistencia está el éxito.
Excelente, muchas gracias. Manfred, I'd love to get your words of advice for the people here in Central America, entrepreneurs, business leaders, investors, or people who may want to launch their business.
I mean, this is an advice for someone coming from Central America. I'm from Nicaragua, so I can definitely say that it doesn't matter where you are. If you believe in yourself, you can make it happen. We all have to be grateful to be living in this era that you can have access to internet. So you need to have a college degree from Harvard to build your company. There's tons of great knowledge in the internet where you can have now access for free and try to build your company and try to be an entrepreneur. And for my fellow citizens in Central America and especially in Nicaragua, creo que todos tenemos la capacidad de poder construir un mejor país de donde nosotros venimos. Tenemos que estar 100% orgullosos de dónde venimos y siempre pues no olvidar nuestras raíces y tratar de pues marcar una diferencia en cualquier parte del mundo donde estemos y dejando un nombre en el alto del país de donde nosotros venimos. O sea, no, tenemos que tener esa identidad cultural que nos va a hacer a la larga fuerte, porque, o sea, si tenemos una entidad, por ejemplo, si tenemos una entidad cultural, eso nos va a motivar a construir un mejor país. Cada quien va a dar su grano de arena y construir una mejor región, en este caso, pues, como todos los centroamericanos. Entonces, eso sería literalmente mi consejo para cualquier persona que quiera hacer algo desde Centroamérica.
Muchísimas gracias. Muy, muy cierto y honesto. Thank you so much. Cecilia, Nicholas, Manfred, it's been such a pleasure having you here for this talk. Thank you for being entrepreneurs. Thank you for being entrepreneurs in Central America. And thank you for leading the charge to drive innovation, development in your countries. I can't say it enough. This world needs more leaders like you, and your countries need people like you desperately. So thank you so much for being here and for doing what you do. And to everybody who is watching this, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this talk, and we look forward to having more conversations like this in the future.